Japan economy. Japan is the third largest national economy in the world, after the United States and China, in terms of nominal GDP, and the fourth largest national economy in the world, after the United States, China, and India, in terms of purchasing power parity. As of 2016, Japan's public debt was estimated at more than 230% of its annual gross domestic product, the largest of any nation in the world. In August 2011, Moody's rating has cut Japan's long-term sovereign debt rating one notch from A3 to A2 in line with the size of the country's deficit and borrowing level. The large budget deficits and government debt since the 2009 global recession and followed by the earthquake and tsunami in March 2011 caused the rating downgrade. The service sector accounts for 3/4 of the gross domestic product. Japan has a large industrial capacity, and is home to some of the largest and most technologically advanced producers of motor vehicles, electronics, machine tools, steel and non-ferrous metals, ships, chemical substances, textiles, and processed foods. Agricultural businesses in Japan cultivate 13% of Japan's land, and Japan accounts for nearly 15% of the global fish catch, second only to China. As of 2016, Japan's labor force consisted of some 65.9 million workers. Japan has a low unemployment rate of around 4%. Some 20 million people, around 17% of the population, were below the poverty line in 2007. Housing in Japan is characterized by limited land supply in urban areas. Japan's exports amounted to $4,210 per capita in 2005. As of 2014, Japan's main export markets were the United States, 20.2%, China, 17.5%, South Korea, 7.1%, Hong Kong, 5.6%, and Thailand, 4.5%. Its main exports are transportation equipment, motor vehicles, iron and steel products, semiconductors and auto parts. Japan's main import markets as of 2015 were China, 24.8%, the United States, 10.5%, Australia, 5.4%, and South Korea, 4.1%. Japan's main imports are machinery and equipment, fossil fuels, foodstuffs, in particular beef, chemicals, textiles and raw materials for its industries. By market share measures, domestic markets are the least open of any OECD country. Junichiro Koizumi's administration began some pro-competition reforms, and foreign investment in Japan has soared. Japan ranks 34th of 190 countries in the 2018 Ease of Doing Business Index and has one of the smallest tax revenues of the developed world. The Japanese variant of capitalism has many distinct features. Keiretsu enterprises are influential, and lifetime employment and seniority-based career advancement are relatively common in the Japanese work environment. Japanese companies are known for management methods like the Toyota Way, and shareholder activism is rare. Japan's top global brands include Toyota, Honda, Canon, Nissan, Sony, Mitsubishi UFJ, MUFG, Panasonic, Uniqlo, Lexus, Subaru, Nintendo, Bridgestone, Mazda, and Suzuki. Economic history. Modern Japan's economic growth began in the Edo period. Some of the surviving elements of the Edo period are roads and water transportation routes, as well as financial instruments such as futures contracts, banking and insurance of the Osaka rice brokers. During the Meiji period from 1868, Japan expanded economically with the embrace of the market economy. Many of today's enterprises were founded at the time, and Japan emerged as the most developed nation in Asia. The period of overall real economic growth from the 1960s to the 1980s has been called the Japanese post-war economic miracle. It averaged 7.5% in the 1960s and 1970s, and 3.2% in the 1980s and early 1990s. Growth slowed in the 1990s during the lost decade due to after effects of the Japanese asset price bubble and government policies intended to wring speculative excesses from the stock and real estate markets. Efforts to revive economic growth were unsuccessful and further hampered by the global slowdown in 2000. The economy recovered after 2005. GDP growth for that year was 2.8%, surpassing the growth rates of the US and European Union during the same period. Today, Japan ranks highly for competitiveness and economic freedom. It is ranked 6th in the Global Competitiveness Report for 2015 to 2016. Agriculture and fishery. The Japanese agricultural sector accounts for about 1.4% of the total country's GDP. Only 12% of Japan's land is suitable for cultivation. Due to this lack of arable land, a system of terraces is used to farm in small areas. This results in one of the world's highest levels of crop yields per unit area, with an overall agricultural self-sufficiency rate of about 50% on fewer than 56,000 square kilometers, 14 million acres, cultivated. Japan's small agricultural sector, however, is also highly subsidized and protected, with government regulations that favor small-scale cultivation instead of large-scale agriculture as practiced in North America. There has been a growing concern about farming as the current farmers are aging with a difficult time finding successors. Rice accounts for almost all of Japan's cereal production. Japan is the second largest agricultural product importer in the world. Rice, the most protected crop, is subject to tariffs of 777.7%. In 1996, Japan ranked fourth in the world in tonnage of fish caught. Japan captured 4,074,580 metric tons of fish in 2005, down from 4,987,703 tons in 2000, 9,558,615 tons in 1990, 9,864,422 tons in 1980, 8,520,397 tons in 1970, 5,583,796 tons in 1960 and 2,881,855 tons in 1950. In 2003, the total aquaculture production was predicted at 1,301,437 tons. In 2010, Japan's total fisheries production was 4,762,469 fish. Offshore fisheries accounted for an average of 50% of the nation's total fish catches in the late 1980s, although they experienced repeated ups and downs during that period. Today, Japan maintains one of the world's largest fishing fleets and accounts for nearly 15% of the global catch, prompting some claims that Japan's fishing is leading to depletion in fish stocks such as tuna. Japan has also sparked controversy by supporting quasi-commercial whaling. Industry. Japan's industrial sector makes up approximately 27.5% of its GDP. Japan's major industries are motor vehicles, electronics, machine tools, metals, ships, chemicals and processed foods. Some major Japanese industrial companies include Toyota, Canon Incorporated, Toshiba and Nippon Steel. Japan is the third largest automobile producer in the world, and is home to Toyota, the world's largest automobile company. The Japanese consumer electronics industry, once considered the strongest in the world, is currently in a state of decline as competition arises in countries like South Korea, the United States and China. However, despite also facing similar competition from South Korea and China, the Japanese shipbuilding industry is expected to remain strong due to an increased focus on specialized, high-tech designs. Services. Japan's service sector accounts for about 3/4 of its total economic output. Banking, insurance, real estate, retailing, transportation, and telecommunications are all major industries, with companies such as Mitsubishi UFJ, Mizuho, NTT, TEPCO, Nomura, Mitsubishi Estate, Aeon, Mitsui Sumitomo, SoftBank Junior East, Seven & I, KDDI and Japan Airlines listed as some of the largest in the world. 4 of the 5 most circulated newspapers in the world are Japanese newspapers. Japan Post Holdings, one of the country's largest providers of savings and insurance services, was slated for privatization by 2015. The 6 major keiretsus are the Mitsubishi, Sumitomo, Fuyo, Mitsui, Daiichi Kangyo and Sanwa groups. Tourism. Japan attracted 19.73 million international tourists in 2015 and increased by 21.8% to attract 24.03 million international tourists in 2016. Tourism from abroad is one of the few promising businesses in Japan. Foreign visitors to Japan doubled in last decade and reached 10 million people for the first time in 2013, led by increase of Asian visitors. In 2008, the Japanese government has set up Japan Tourism Agency and set the initial goal to increase foreign visitors to 20 million in 2020. In 2016, having met the 20 million target, The government has revised up its target to 40 million by 2020 and to 60 million by 2030. Japan has 20 World Heritage Sites, including Himeji Castle, historic monuments of ancient Kyoto and Nara. Popular tourist attractions include Tokyo and Hiroshima, Mount Fuji, ski resorts such as Niseko and Hokkaido, Okinawa, riding the Shinkansen and taking advantage of Japan's hotel and hot spring network. For inbound tourism, Japan was ranked 16th in the world in 2015. In 2009, the Yomiuri Shimbun published a modern list of famous sites under the name Heisei Hyakkei, the 100 Views of the Heisei period. The Travel and Tourism Competitiveness Report 2017 ranks Japan 4th out of 141 countries overall, which was the best in Asia. Japan gained relatively high scores in almost all aspects, especially health and hygiene, safety and security, cultural resources and business travel. In 2016, 24,039,053 foreign tourists visited Japan. Neighboring South Korea is Japan's most important source of foreign tourists. In 2010, the 2.4 million arrivals made up 27% of the tourists visiting Japan. Chinese travelers are the highest spenders in Japan by country, spending an estimated 196.4 billion yen, $2.4 billion in 2011, or almost a quarter of total expenditure by foreign visitors, according to data from the Japan Tourism Agency. The Japanese government hopes to receive 40 million foreign tourists every year by 2020. In 2017, 28,690,900 foreign tourists visited Japan.